Welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary on Nantucket. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Arthur Bergeron. I'm an attorney at Myrick O'Connell. There are 70 of us. We're the biggest from outside of Boston. But as a result, everybody gets to do what they like. I like elder law, and that's all I do. So this show is meant to kind of, I want to say it was meant to supplement the seminars that I do at the Salt Marsh, but they're really not. The goal of this show is, if you've been to any of my presentations, you've seen my friends Frank and Mary and their kids, Peter, Paul, and Mary Jr. You know, their goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if you're on Nantucket, you want to stay here. You don't want to go to Martha's Vineyard. You don't want to go anyplace else. And the question is, how can you do that? And what programs should you know about in order to be able to do that? So in order to know that, excuse me, I convinced my friend Alison to be my co-host, and she keeps coming up with these great people and programs, among others this one. So Alison, tell us about our guest and about this program.
Well, this program is about the Nantucket Wheelers, which is a wheelchair biking program for the residents of our island home.
A wheelchair biking program.
A wheelchair biking program. And Darcy Creech is our guest today, and she was the founder. So tell us how that started.
Well, I was looking for something, a way to contribute to the community here, and nothing was really making my heart sing. And I was watching YouTube on Valentine's Day, and this video came up, and it said it was called "What Is Love," and it was a man who put together one of these wheelchair bikes for his wife who had Alzheimer's. And like 30 seconds into the video, I was in tears because it was so beautiful. They had a relationship, they used to bike a lot, and she couldn't really get out anymore, and so when he had somebody attach a wheelchair to the front of his bicycle, and they removed the front wheel, they put the wheelchair there, pedaling around, and he had put a crown on top of her bike helmet. It was like a little princess crown, and he said, she's been the wind under my wings my whole life. It's my turn to give back to her, and just to show God's love. And I just thought that was so beautiful. And then, I really did feel like the Holy Spirit just like dropped it in my heart as this is the project that you've been looking for. Are you going to take the assignment? And I thought it was so amazing. I just knew it was the right thing. And then that was February, but I thought, all right, well, come July, I'm going to figure out how much money we need to launch this program, and the bikes are about $10,000 each. So I figured 3 bicycles to make it a fun event for multiple people to go out together, so it's like a group.
I see, and you're not actually taking a regular bike and modifying it. This is like a whole construction. The bike with the.
Well, I actually emailed him and I said, where can we get this bicycle? And he said, well, this was a one of a kind, but they are making them in Europe. In Europe, it's actually pretty common. And so I looked, and there was a factory in the Netherlands, and my son Peter happened to be over in Europe, and I said, I know you've only got 1 weekend left, and all your friends are going to Paris and Rome, but I really need you to go to the factory to see which bike we should get, because they're expensive. I don't want to order the wrong kind of bicycles. Oh, right. And originally, we were going to get a bike that the wheelchair went on a platform, and Peter tried that bike out, and he said, Mom, it's way too cumbersome. This is the other bike that you want. And the interesting thing is that Peter was in his 20s, pretty focused on his self and his career and school and all that. But when I said to him, not only do I want you to go to the factory, I want you to go to find somebody to take out. So there was an institution where there was a boy that it was his age that was institutionalized. He took that boy out for a ride, and he said, Mom, I just can't even tell you how it made me feel to be able to do that for him, to be able to take him out. He was not verbal, and he was, making noise and clapping, and he just said, I just can't believe what a beautiful experience that was. So I knew from the beginning that not only was the program going to bless the residents, but all the volunteers. And
that's what they really feel. That's what
they feel
say.
It. The volunteers just. They don't even realize that they're going to be the benefits of the program. You think you're doing it for the residents, and then you realize, oh my gosh, like all it takes is a little bit of my time, and you make somebody's, we took one lady out and she said, "You made my year. You made my year." I mean, never thought she was going to get out in the fresh air again. But it's also companionship. It's building relationships. It's not just about the ride. It's about going and picking up your peep at Island Home, and
so tell us how you got the money for the bikes and sort of the lead up to the launch, which was like in September or October?
I just thought, okay, July is a great time to raise money on Nantucket, but I'm not going to, spend a whole year. People are either going to love the idea or they're not. They're either going to be on board or they're not. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it wasn't GoFundMe, it was Indiegogo. Indiegogo's for a nonprofit fundraising platform. So I said, all right, we're going to raise $35,000 in 35 days. And we ended up raising $42,000. And the thing that was so amazing about it was that we had the whole community behind it. We had everybody from the Nantucket Leatherheads, which is like the Fireman's Harley Davidson Motorcycle Club, to people, the Nantucket Yacht Club. It was like everybody thought it was an amazing idea, and they just got behind it, and we got the money. And then another important thing was that we partnered with the Community Foundation for Nantucket. So all the donations go to the Community Foundation.
So they're all like tax deductible, and that's
they're all tax deductible. Right. And the Community Foundation pays for all of our invoices. So we never touch the money personally. And that gives people confidence, that, okay, it's not like a little bit for them, a little bit for the people who are running it. It's just so clean and clear, and, just makes it a great place to donate.
And when you were doing the promo, like, did you do like a video so that people could see this? Because it's hard to imagine,
We just had a picture. We just had like one picture of a nursing home that I found that was doing the program down south, and I just like put one of their pictures up.
But then you did a website, and
eventually we did a website, and once we got the funding, we had a platform for people to go to. Yeah.
And so then, how did you introduce it at Our Island Home?
Well, so it was actually a little bit of a rocky start. They thought the idea was a little bit crazy, and
I bet somebody said, "Oh, liability! Oh my God."
Liability, and they were like, "This is crazy. We're not doing it." And I was literally in tears. I said, "Are you kidding me? We've bought all the bicycles." Like, I never thought anybody would ever say no. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So we bought the bicycles, we trained everybody, and then there was hesitation. And so what happened was Alison decided, you know what? Alison's been with us since the beginning, and she was like, well, you know what? I want to take my dad out. My dad biked his whole life. He loves biking. I'm going to take my dad out. And then I got permission to take somebody's husband out. She was like, I really want Don to go out. You can take him out whenever you want to take him out. And then we had another man, David Worth, who loved the bicycles. And he just said, I'm going out. I don't need anybody's permission. I'm going out. So the three of them went out. Yeah. And they came back, and they were high as kites. They ran into people they hadn't seen in years. They went to the Surfside Beach and had ice cream. They were so on fire.
It was great.
So the nurse at Island Home said, after like 2 outings that we had, and she was like, at the end of the first week, she said, oh my gosh, I wish I had done a scale of depression. She said, because the atmosphere has completely changed here. She said, the dining hall is on fire, talking about Wheelers. She said, I wanna get people permission to go. And within a couple weeks, we had the program running. But it was the just getting the first people out, and they came back and they were so happy, and their moods were elevated. It was just amazing. It was amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
And so tell us about the process, because it isn't just you put people in a chair and take them to the bike path. There are several steps for safety and for...
Yeah, there's the safety steps, and there's also the social part of it. So, part of the whole program is it's not just taking them out for a ride. It's the volunteers show up at Island Home. There's a volunteer for every resident that's going out. You help them, put their suntan lotion on or their sunglasses, get them ready. Hi, how are you? Make sure they're strapped in okay. And they love that. They just love, seeing that regular person every time they go out. And so then what happens is we have a few wheelchairs, the chair part that is left at Island Home. And since we're not allowed to transfer the residents, the nurses put the residents in the wheelchair. Sometimes they need to use a lift to get them in the wheelchair so that when we arrive, they're ready. They're ready in their wheelchair. And then the Island Home van, we used to use NERDA, but we don't, now Island Home is using their own van. So the residents partner up with their volunteer, they get in the Island Home van, and we drive to Don Allen, which is our station on Pulpus Road. And Don Allen is amazing. Like, honestly, the program would not be possible without them because all of our bikes are stored there, our batteries are charged there. We go there every day and are opening their garage door. It was supposed to be their showroom, and it's become the Wheelers,
And now it's
the
Wheelers
Wheelers station. They do have one car in there, but they have been incredibly generous.
And so there are 4 bike backs there.
There are 4 bike backs, and then the residents get unloaded, and then we hook the wheelchair up to the back of the bicycle, which is a battery assist bicycle. But at that point, the person is already in the wheelchair that they're going to be using for the day, right? When they leave, they're in the
nursing home,
wheelchair.
they're
We
in the
don't
wheelchair.
transfer anybody. Although there are people who can walk from Island Home, who can walk on the bus, they walk off the bus, and then there's a full bicycle with a wheelchair ready for them to get into.
And so if you're ambulatory, you can walk on, and then you're
Yes.
seated when you get to Don Allen.
Right.
And then, again, the volunteer makes sure that they get safely back on the bus. So everyone's always one-to-one.
Yes, it's one-on-one.
So is that so? The volunteer is the person who's actually like doing the driving of the bike.
Yes. And everyone, the peddler, and everyone's trained. They go through 3 training sessions. It's about 6 hours. So
It's a motorized assist, but the person is pedaling.
you need to pedal to activate the battery.
Oh, I see.
So you need to be pedaling it. But every volunteer, when they get trained, they get a chance. The first thing they do is they are a passenger. So they understand how vulnerable you feel, in the chair. They understand why you want to be a certain length away from the road before you cross it. They understand why you want to use control going down a hill. All the things, all of a sudden they're like, you realize, like, okay, you can't get out of the wheelchair, and you need to trust the person who's driving you. And so they get chances to sit in the chair and also to be a peddler. Yeah.
So where did the volunteers, have they come from all over? Do they tend to be older folks? Who are the volunteers?
So the volunteers are, we have an age prerequisite of 21 years old. Yeah. And I would say it's 21 to 70. We've got some 70 volunteers in their 70s. But I would say most of the volunteers are like 50 plus, 40 plus. It varies.
How many younger people have signed up?
We've got some younger people. This year we have some people in their 20s. It really does. It's a whole range. It was very cute this year. I did have a 90-year-old call up and say she wanted to volunteer, and I was like, "Oh, do you mean you want to go out for a ride?" And she was like, "No, I wanna be a volunteer." And somebody did tell me that she was the most fit 90-year-old they've ever met. She rides her bicycle every day. But
she then thought she might be a crossing guard.
Then she called me back and she said, I've discussed it with my family and they don't think it's a good idea. But you know what? I really loved that somebody wanted to, do that at that age. It's because it is battery assist. Really all you need is balance, good eyesight and balance.
Right. And you have this huge range of people, and they're all on board.
They're all on board.
So did you say you run this every day?
Well, so this year we're doing Monday through Wednesday, but in the past it's been Monday through Friday. But we've just decided to do 3 days, have solid teams. We do a lot of training simultaneously, so we have a fourth bike that we use for training.
And can you talk about the training a little bit? So if I'm volunteering, what does the training consist of?
So you would arrive at, you sign up for training, and then you arrive at Don Allen, and then we just take you through how the bicycles are hooked up. It's important to just, hook them up right, and how to turn them on, how to operate them. So you get 3 sessions that are about an hour and a half or 2 hours each to practice doing wide turns,
And also
going down
loading the
hills,
people,
loading
into the
people
chair,
in,
and
right.
being conscientious of putting their feet in the things and drawing their arms through, because
Right.
you can't expect, some of them need help
Yes.
doing that, so
Yes.
that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
It's like really loading people in.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just building that relationship with the resident,
Yeah.
and they enjoy being touched and having their hands touched, and is your seatbelt on right, and it's just it's a way to be loving, and they really enjoy it.
And it's a way to be loving in a really, I want to say like an active way.
In an active
So it isn't like you're just going to the island home and kind of
Right.
sitting with somebody going, oh, how's the day? And of course that's really hard. If folks have
Well, I
got
think when there's an
dementia and
activity involved, it just makes it more. People are more comfortable with that. So I think that's a reason why it's a popular volunteer activity, because you're doing something together. Some people love to be chatty. Some people love chatting, and they have their. And then other people don't even really want to have a conversation. They just want to be with somebody. And so some of the rides are quiet rides, and some of the rides are singing rides, and talking about their history or just what's going on in their day.
And is the route always the same from Donnell, or do you just go all over?
Well, so we do have, I would say, 3 routes that we do. So it depends on if we want to go for ice cream or we want to go to the driving range. I will say Surfside Road is a popular route, and Marshall Thompson at the Shack gives us complimentary water and ice cream every day, which is just amazing. And so what I will say is that this is a community program. Like, it wouldn't be possible without the volunteers, Don Allen. The bike shop, Nantucket Bike Shop does all of our repairs for free. Jody, the bike mechanic there, his grandmother, Myrtle, was one of our first wheelers, and she was 100. And they love the program. So, and now we have some of the, like Kip's mom is a wheeler now. She works at Don Allen. So it's really nice to be able to, just have bringing parents of the employees out is really wonderful. Yeah.
Right. Now, have you gotten any requests from other places who've tried to replicate this? Has this gone anyplace else?
Oh, yes. So that's exciting.
This whole thing is pretty exciting.
So we've had a few babies. There's been a program that started in Bloomfield, Illinois, in Portland, Maine. And what I love about Nantucket is, like, people come to Nantucket, they see an idea, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to do that in my community. It's amazing. And so the fact that, like, we started it here and people have gone and brought it to their community, I love that. And we've helped them, given them, where you get the bikes, here's where you get the insurance, here's the checklist for the rules for the road, or
And there are also
all the
little business cards in the back of the bike, so if somebody, at Surfside, they'll say, oh, that's great, and here's a card.
so they can go
look
to
it
the
up.
website, and look up. Yeah, but it's just wonderful. Like, we go to Moore's End Farm, and I remember one of the residents was like, I don't like the tomatoes at Island Home. They're just not juicy. And I was like, let's go get some tomatoes.
And flowers.
So we'll go to Moore's End Farm, and we disconnect the bike from the from the wheelchair and we wheel them into Moorzen Farm, and they disconnect. And so we pick out, vegetables, or a big hit is flowers. So it's just really sweet. Which bouquet would you like? So we have a charge there, and we charge there so the residents can get what they would like, and it's really special.
So you did that initial big hit because you had to buy the bikes and stuff,
Yes.
and then you're working on volunteers, but there's obviously some kind of run rate to all of this, right? You got insurance,
so
you got this and that.
I would love to mention the Congregational Church pays for our
let's
insurance.
mention the Congregational Church. That's great
they
too.
pay for our insurance every year. They have for like the past 4 or 5 years, which they had a lot of residents that were members of the congregation, and that's amazing. That's really our biggest expense is insurance every year. So they pay that. And then we've had other people donate money. Like our 4th bicycle was somebody saw us out on the road and just said, "Oh my gosh, like that's the most amazing program. My son has cerebral palsy. Is there any way you could take him out for a ride?" And we do community rides. We use the 4th bike for community rides, or we have separate days for community rides.
A community ride where you would just stop at somebody's house?
Well, it's just not an Island Home resident. Anybody who wants to go out can sign up for a community ride.
I see.
Well, we took this boy out with a friend of his who also had cerebral palsy, and the mom was in tears. She just said, "You just wouldn't believe it. I have not heard him laughing like that I can't even remember." And so she donated $10,000 to buy a bicycle. And that's happened twice. So, we've been really blessed that way.
Yeah.
People just see it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." So we also use the bicycles for Tulgeywood, which is it's called Camp Tulgeywood, and it's a 2-week-long program for disabled adults. And the wheelchair biking, the Nantucket Wheelers, is like one of the highlights of their trip as well. So we get our volunteers to come. Tulgeywood folks meet us at Don Allen, and then we go off. Or we bring the bikes to Jetty's Beach. We've brought them to Jetty's Beach, and then we take them out from there. So.
And that's on the opposite side, because Monday and Wednesday wheelers go out in the morning, and Tuesday in the afternoon. I'd love to see a Thursday afternoon if we get things running.
I think when now more volunteers are rolling in, like some of our volunteers are seasonal, but once we get all the seasonal people here, we can do another training and then add Thursday afternoons. Yeah. And
is there anything? It's just amazing. Is there anything that you would, if you had the resources, that you would do differently, that you would grow? Is there anything?
Well, the only thing I think that would make the program better is when the bike path comes right past Island Home, we're not going to need a van. So we're going to be able to go out. We could go out whenever. It wouldn't have to be so scheduled. People could go out one-on-one with a crossing guard. You would just go right from Island Home. Now it has to be more organized just because we need to get to the station.
Right, you have to get out of the Island Home.
Right.
And there have been families that have biked with their resident.
Like your dad.
Yeah, and I know my mom and Ted Anderson went out one time, and so, I've tried to encourage people to try to hook up with us and see if you can go for a ride. But then you have to have the volunteers. It's the same thing.
Right.
Takes a little coordination, but there's nothing like going for a bike ride with your wheelchair-bound,
Well, and it was like
grandparent.
when Alison's dad. It was right before he passed, but I remember all the kids went out, her family, and they had him go under a tunnel didn't you make a tunnel and you rode through a tunnel of people?
And we went to the life-saving museum, because you can take the chairs off and bring them right into the museum and look around. Yeah.
That's one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. Alison had referred to this a few times, but I couldn't kind of picture it, how it had happened. But it's just grown into and so it's just a staple now. So it's been around for a number of years.
Yeah, our seventh year.
Right, And how much of your time do you spend doing this? Like a lot.
Well, I mean, this year I'm trying to delegate a little bit more. I actually thought I was going to be moving off island, and that didn't really work. I got married, and we were going to spend more time off island, and so I figured that a good way to kind of make a transition was to assign a captain for every day. Mm-hmm. So each day has somebody in charge who's been with the program for a while. Yeah. So that's kind of helping to make more of a transition, and then just trying to get everything on the web. Like I just got all the forms for new volunteers and the sign up link on the training page, because normally I was responding to emails for that.
There's a sign up Genius, so you can sign up to volunteer and check into your times. And then
right.
There's also a volunteer interface where if you need to get a sub, there are subs available, and so we try to make it automated, right?
Yeah, it's getting more I mean, I'm just trying to get it more automated.
Because it's one of the goals of the exercise, because you're dealing with a lot of volunteers, you're constantly training new people, you've got this huge coordination thing. I guess that's what I just find is so amazing. It's not only the trips themselves, but you've got this whole back office that's all running like on.
Well, so what we did was one of the expenses, the startup expenses, was it was like $2,000 to do a custom app for the website, so that we have a calendar, everybody's scheduled in there. But then if you can't make your shift, you can go online and you request a sub. That email will go out to everybody who's on the team. Mm-hmm. They can log on and fill the sub request, because like the first season, it was like the phone call was ringing, and then it was like, oh, I can't, oh no, I can, I'm gonna be off on, oh no, I'm not. I couldn't keep track of it.
Of course.
I just could not. It was like everybody's personal life, and like there's last minute changes or whatever it was. I was like, ah. So the app is really helpful. That's made a huge difference.
And that's what makes it kind of sustainable, because it means that nobody has to be crazy trying to figure all that stuff.
And there's no you don't have to hire someone to facilitate the program, which is would be nice, but not
Well, I feel like you know what, the volunteers all have ownership. Like everybody's in. Like we make it work. Nobody's getting paid. We don't want people to get paid. It's about relationships. It works just because everybody makes it work.
One thing that I really love, and you see more and more of it, is that people who start off, people don't even know where Our Island Home is. Mm-hmm. And it's a couple of, just this year, someone couldn't find me to meet up to go for a training because they'd never been there. So it brings people down East Creek Road, and then, for instance, one of the Wheelers has started a knitting program at Our Island Home. So whenever she's here, she knits with the residents, and it's a popular thing. So the more people that go through the doors there and to see it
and get comfortable and visiting, and to bring
it's just amazing.
And you have real people from Our Island Home out in the real world. That's one of the standard stereotypes, as you go to a nursing home, and it's like you're crossing this moat by, it was nice knowing you, and you never come back. And occasionally people will go visit. But the idea of this is actually a program that you'd actually see them.
Well, every day we're in there, like a group is in there, and it's just, some people don't have relatives on Nantucket, and so like we're their people that they see everywhere. We're the person that comes to visit them every week. That's a big deal. The other thing was, I remember like, are there any complaints about the program or whatever? And it was like, well, Myrtle got to go out twice in a row this week, and that is just not fair. Like they could become like kindergartners. Like if they get rained out on their day, and they don't get to go out, and then somebody got to go out twice, and so they love it. They don't like missing their turn. And the thing about the activities is that once the program ends, once it gets too cold, if it's below 60 degrees, we can't go out. They get kind of depressed that the program's over. So some of the Wheelers have, through the winter, like Mary, started doing knitting programs. So she does a knitting class like once a week. And then we have another person who reads. So just to keep it going through the winter, keep people visiting.
This is one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. No, thank you. This was just great. This is great. So thank you so much.
Thank
This
you
was
for
just,
letting me
this was a
share.
treat. No, thank you, Allison. Well,
Thank you,
that's
Arthur.
pretty amazing. For any of you who didn't know about this, right? So this isn't a big, pitch for a huge amount of money. It is about volunteering, right, and connecting with these folks. And it's one of those things that really makes Nantucket special. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary on Nantucket. Thank you.